everybody, it's Daniela from Software Training for Students. Now, in this video, we will cover the basics of SketchUp to start creating your own 3D models, just like this one. Before we begin, here's a quick reminder of the services we offer. Please feel free to drop in during office hours if you have any questions. So when you open SketchUp, you'll see a large area in the center. This is your 3D workspace. The red, green, and blue lines you see in the center represent the X, Y, and Z axis. This helps keep your models accurate in this 3D space. The navigation tools are the tools you see right here. These tools are essential to move around your model. Each tool has a shortcut that makes this process much more easier. I'll show each shortcut on the screen as we go. So first, we use the Orbit tool to rotate your view, the Pan tool to slide your view left, right, up, or down. You can also use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. These tools help you see your model from almost every angle. Now we can start drawing basic shapes by using the Line tool to create edges, or the Rectangle, Circle, and Polygon tools to make 2D shapes. You can view these shapes by clicking on the drop-down arrow. Now just to demonstrate, I'm going to create a rectangle. This will be my first point, and then I will continue to drag my cursor. And there we have our first rectangle. Now I will use the Orbit tool to move around the workspace. Let's turn our 2D shapes into 3D. So we're going to click on the Push or Pull tool, which is the one right here. So I'm going to hover over the shape and then click once. And then I will decide if I want to drag it up or down. In this case, I will drag up. And this is how we model in 3D. The Push-Pull tool adds depth to your shape and creates a solid object just like this one. To adjust your model, we can use the Move tool to shift objects. The Move tool is this tool right here, which has 4 arrows pointing in different directions. Now I will click on the top part of my 3D model, and I can move around. To move the whole shape, we use the Select tool and drag until every part of the shape is highlighted. Then we would use the Move tool. We click and move according to where we want our shape to be. So this would be the Z axis, this would be the Y axis, and this the X axis. We can also use the Rotate tool to spin them around a point. The Rotate tool is found right next to the Move tool. So I'm going to click on a point, and then on another point. And now I can move the line in between these 2 points and rotate it. Now to rotate the whole shape, we're going to do the same thing we did with the Move tool. We use our cursor and drag until every part of the shape is highlighted. And then we pick our 2 points to rotate. The Scale tool is used to resize our shape. So first, we have to click on the shape, and then on the scale icon. Now I'm going to click on a corner and drag my cursor. As you see, this scales the shape. I can also click Shift to scale it unproportionally, and Control to scale it proportionally. We can also use the Scale tool to scale certain faces of our shape. To demonstrate this, I will quickly create a cup. So first, I will go to my Shapes tool and select on the circle option. Then I will create a circle on the blue axis. Now that we have this, I will use the push-pull tool to make this shape 3D. Now I'm going to create an empty space inside the cup. To do this, I will use the offset tool and click on the top surface. Again, with the push-pull tool, I'm going to push this downwards. Now that we have this, we can now use the scale tool. So I will click on scale and then on the top part of the cup. I will use the shift key to toggle uniform scale and then control to toggle scale about center. And I will make this bigger. And now we have our cup. Now to edit anything, we first use the select tool. A shortcut for this would be the spacebar. So we click once to select, double click to select connected faces and edges, or triple click to select the whole object. We can also use the eraser tool to remove edges or unwanted parts. The eraser is found right next to the select tool. So I'm going to click on the eraser and then click on a face, and this will delete that part of our shape. Then to go back, I'm going to click Ctrl and Z. We can also use the eraser tool more precisely. So I'm going to click on this line right here, and then with my eraser tool, I'm going to erase that line. I can also use the eraser tool by dragging out. This will delete most of the lines, which will make our shape smooth. If I want to delete the whole shape, I would click on the select tool on my shape and then right click and erase. And we can do the same with the rest. Now to keep our model organized, we can group shapes by selecting, right-clicking, and choosing Make Group. Now this will allow us to move the whole shape without messing the form. If you have objects that repeat, like windows, chairs, or table legs, it's smart to make them into components. This way, when you edit one, all of the other copies update automatically. So to make a component, select the shape, right-click, and choose Make Component. You can name it, set an alignment, and reuse it throughout your model. I'm going to make a copy of that shape by clicking Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. I'm going to go on to the first shape that we created and click on Edit Component. So as you see, when you edit one, all of the other copies update automatically. This saves time, ensures consistency, and keeps your file lighter and cleaner. To add color or texture, we open the Materials panel in the tray. If you do not have this tray, we can go to Window, New Tray, and we select on the Materials checkbox. Finally, we click on Add, and then we'll see the Materials tray. So we can choose a category by clicking on the drop-down arrow. Here, I'm going to click on Wood. Then we click on a face to apply the material. So I'm going to edit my component and click on the top face. And then hover over my face and you'll see a paint bucket appear. Finally, we click. I'm going to make the other faces of my shape a different wood. Remember to use the orbit tool to get all of the angles of your shape. I'm going to click on my Escape key to exit the component edit mode. As your model gets more complex, it helps to save certain camera angles or visibility settings so you don't lose your place. To do this, we go to the Scenes panel. If you don't have this panel, we go to Window, New Tray, and click on the Scenes checkbox. So now that we have this, we can click on the plus icon to add a new scene. I'm going to click on Save as New Style and create the scene. So if we move around our workspace, we can always go back to that same viewpoint by clicking on the scene. This is a great way to quickly jump between viewpoints or to create a presentation. Now I will start working on the mini project. I suggest you follow along to get more familiar with SketchUp. Okay, so before we begin, I'm going to save my project. To do this, I will first go to File, and then click on Save As. I will name this STS Coffee Mug. Now I will delete this person as we won't need it. I will click and then go to Erase. To create the cup, we will first create a rectangle. I will go to the Shapes tool and then click on the origin. Our rectangle should have a green outline. This means we will use the green axis. Now I will use the Orbit tool to get the front view of the rectangle. This will be the half of a 2D cup. As this is a half, I will first create a line in the middle of the rectangle. So I will use the Lines tool, and then make sure your line is set at the midpoint. Then I will go to the Arc tool and click on the drop-down arrow. Then click on 2-point arc. Now I will create a slight curve on these two midpoints. My first point will be this one, and then my next point would be on this midpoint. Now I will delete the other side of the rectangle. So now I will click on the Eraser tool and just drag what we don't need. Now our shape should look like this. To make it 3D, I will create an inner layer by using the Offset tool. I will click on this part of the shape and drag. Now I will create a line connecting these 2 points and a slight curve at the top. I will use the 2-point arc again. Our curve will be in between these 2 points. And I will go upwards. Before we create the curve, it should say half circle. Now I'm going to use the Eraser tool again and delete these lines. Now I will use the Orbit tool to get the top view. We will create a circle at the base. So I will go to the Shapes tool, click on the drop-down arrow, and circle. Before we create our circle, make sure that it has a blue outline. This means we will create the circle at the blue axis. To switch between axes, we click on the arrows on our keyboard. Now that my circle has a blue outline, I will drag And make sure your circle's radius is in between these two green points. Now to make this 3D, we will use the Follow Me tool. To get this tool, we will go to Tools and Follow Me. I'm going to click on the first shape I created, and then on the circle. Now to fully cover the circle, I will press Alt. The Follow Me tool can sometimes mess up with the base of our 3D shapes. To fix this, I will just create a line. Make sure that the line is in between these two green points. To remove these two lines on our mug, I'm going to select my whole shape by triple clicking on the shape. And now I will right click and soften smooth edges. Now I will delete this tray, and our mug should be smooth now. Now I need to add a handle to it. Creating a handle has a similar process. So with the line tool, I'm going to click at the top of the coffee mug. I will draw a line going straight out by using the red axis, and then a line going down using the blue axis. I will draw a circle at that point for the diameter you want the coffee handle to be. Once you have this, you want to grab the arc tool. I will use the 2-point arc again, and click on the center of the circle. Before you create the curve, make sure you have this blue dotted line. Now we click, and I will make my curve like this. Now that this is done, I will use the Follow Me tool to convert this into 3D. So I will click on the circle and then drag this out until we get to the end point. Now with the eraser tool, I will delete the extra lines we created. If you feel like your handle is too small, you can make this bigger by using the scale tool. I will click on one of the green points and use the Control key. To move the handle closer to the mug, I will first go to the top view and use the Move tool. If you get this line, you can delete it by using the eraser tool. Now I will move my handle down by using the Move tool again. Make sure you have the whole handle selected. Make sure to view your shape using different angles. And I will keep my handle right there. If you like the position of the handle but you see that it goes through the coffee mug, you can click on the part that is inside, right click, and then intersect faces. Now we should be able to delete this part. Make sure to use the zoom tool so that you're not deleting anything important. Finally, I will color the mug so that it looks more realistic and nicer. I will use the paint bucket tool and click on solid colors. I will make my mug pink. And maybe the inside a different color. Don't forget to save your project. Now that you have finished creating your 3D model, we can now export as a 2D graphic. When exporting a 2D graphic, the graphic will be as your model appears on your screen at the time of the export. So make sure to use the navigation tools to get the angle you want. Here I will use the orbit tool and the pan tool. Once you are happy with how it looks, we can now go to File, Export, and click on 2D Graphic. This will export your 2D graphic as a JPEG. And finally, we can click on Export. And now we're done. I hope this video helps you feel more comfortable using SketchUp.